What's up, guys? I got my good friend Alex back on the show. You guys know him. He's been on the God Minute Money show. He's hung out with me on Increase a bunch. He's even on the Passive Income Engines YouTube channel. So, Alex, one of my best friends on this planet, in the world. I love this guy. We have a lot of conversations. And I just thought it would be great if we record some of these things, some of the things that we're kind of just talking through and going through ourselves, kind of just out loud. So I bug him and twist his arms like, hey, let's just record. Let's have this conversation tomorrow, but let's record it. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what we're doing. And has a great lesson, if you want it, if you will, on he calls it your zone of favor. And I think
Yes.
it's just something to talk about. Well, we'll dive into it here, but just having to do with like what you're really on this planet to do. A lot of us get bogged down in I want to do this, but it doesn't pay the bills. I want to do this, but I don't know how it can make money. I can see it make money if I do this instead. And then one day when I'm rich, maybe I'll do this.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have that subconscious thought in the back of our minds. The problem is that one day never comes. You think it will,
Mm.
but it doesn't. I'm a younger man, I believe, and I know people who I was thinking through. I know people who have said things like that for 25 years, and it still hasn't happened yet. So
Or 40, 50 years, and you'll
yeah,
see the same thing.
and I think that's why I wanted to just have Alex come on here and just talk it out.
Yeah.
And hit us with some of the stuff you've been seeing and kind of some of the stuff maybe even you've gone through, dealt with, because I've
Yeah.
gone through and dealt with it too, and still
Yeah.
am.
Yeah. I talk about this zone of favor, and you think of, well, what is it? And so I was thinking about it. If you're in the business world, which if you're listening to this, most likely you are, but if not, that's all good. In the business world, we think of a couple terms that make us feel like that's what this zone of favor is, and it really isn't that. So these things are what you would hear as your unique abilities, for example, your natural giftedness or your natural strengths, or it could be, a number of different things that make you and certain things you do special in the world.
Mhm.
So I like those ideas. The only thing that it comes, your core competence is another one. The thing about that and where they fall short, dramatically short of your zone of favor, is they're all focused on us and our abilities. And if you think about it, separated from God, we're limited. There's a
Mhm.
certain cap, even in our zone of impact, or in our unique ability zone, or our core competences, even in our areas of strength. Left to our own devices, they still have their limitations. They still have a cap to how much we can accomplish, how much we could do, how much we could be when it's built around us. So these concepts are great and they're powerful, but yet they're limited. When we talk about the zone of favor, very different, because these are supernatural abilities that are given to you by God. So the focus on them is God versus us. And so if you think about it, just kind of think it through. Here's our power and abilities. Here is his. And like I could keep going and going, because even the word says his ways are higher than our ways, his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. So his power is higher than our power. His strength is higher than our strength. And so we can focus on building things up, using our unique abilities or our core competences, but then we're going to fall short of what God has for us. And that's where the zone of favor kicks in, because that is a gift of God. And in fact, as I was conversing with somebody just today about a zone of favor, think of it like this. If you're a parent, you look at your children and you're like, they have my eyes, they have my personality, they have my humor, they have my body type, they have my, you know, the way that I speak, they have, my lips, or whatever it is, these features, right? Your zone of favor on each of us is very different and very unique. And it's the secret sauce that God imparts in us, which is one of his characteristics. He just allows that area to be accentuated in each of our lives. And it's very different and very unique for each of us. We, he said that we were created in his image. And yes, for sure, that is the truth. But then there's this little secret sauce that he places in each of us. That is your zone of favor, right? So we all have power and strength, and we all have, these areas of gifts, and we get a lot of that we get all of it from God. But then he's like, but Travis, here is what I'm going to impart especially for you. It's a little sprinkle that makes you different, that opens doors of opportunity for you, that gives you favor with man and favor with God when you operate from this place, that no matter what abilities and strengths you have, you can't open those doors.
Mhm.
Those are, you can open natural doors with your natural gifts. You can't open supernatural doors with your natural gifts.
Mm.
It takes the
Yeah.
supernatural. And that's where your zone of favor really makes way for you that you couldn't do on your own. And to me, that's the difference. So as we get into this conversation of zone of favor, I want to first let people know what that is. And again, just to be clear, your zone of favor is your supernatural ability that is God gifted uniquely to you. And nobody else has it in the exact measure that you do. And that's what makes us really impactful in this world when we're able to identify it and embrace it and then live it out so that we live this supernatural life and we have supernatural results.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you mean like he's really good at uh advertising. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. So that's a good point. So we think of this as, because this is super, keep in mind, this is supernatural. So like it's above the natural, right? We think in our natural way, we think of our past experience and we're like, yeah, we're good at that. We have a unique set of skills here. I have 15 years of being a paralegal. I've been a teacher for the last 16 years working with kids. Like those are skills,
mm,
those are experiences. But have you noticed that there's something that you do and it doesn't even matter if it's in the professional sense or in the personal sense, or it like shows up in every area? And then suddenly like it gets people's attention, suddenly people open up to you, suddenly it's, even when you don't feel like you've had experience to qualify you on this thing, people hear, they lean in. So I'll give you an example. For me, I have an ability to see people through the eyes of God, not the lens of judgment, not the lens of uh, of of guilt. Like I can help people peel that away so they could see themselves fully as God sees them. And
mm,
so I just, and not only do I see it, but then I communicated it. So to some people, I can communicate it in a way that seems a little harsh. It's more direct than harsh, but it seems a little harsh. And yet they're open to hearing it. They're open to being challenged. Why is that? Because they see that there's something in them that I help them really be able to view themselves. And
yeah,
so it peels away the filters that they put in front of them. I've been doing that since I was a kid. I would speak life into people. I would literally prophesy into people. You think prophecy is just seeing the future? It's seeing the truth, not the future.
right.
And the
Yes.
and the truth is, this is who God says you are, unfiltered. And so when I speak that into people, suddenly it ignites them. They might have gotten some kind of inkling as to what it is, but when they hear it a specific way, that how I deliver it, this is God using me, suddenly it's like, oh, I get it now. And it ignites something in them. Like, I don't have the qualifications, so I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a philosopher, I'm not any of that stuff. And yet, this zone of favor allows me to speak truth into people that oftentimes would be resistant to truth.
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
literally that peels away because that's my zone of favor. Now, for others, it might look very different. For others, they have a gift of hosting, for example. So, like my wife, when we have company come over the house and they want to come over for dinner, their friends, their past, whoever, they're coming to the house. Tomorrow we'll have people coming over to the house and it's a barbecue. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna feed them and whatever. When she does it, what she does is helps people feel included, and the way she does it is by the way she hosts. She uses special plates and she uses decorations and she buys flowers because she wants to create an event to demonstrate God's love to these people through her hosting. Like, and she does this, so I don't even think of half the things she's thinking about, and yet it's like the natural thing for her. I want people to feel loved through food, through the presentation here, through the experience I'm creating. It's all it is an invitation to be loved, and she does that through hosting. And so that's her zone of influence. When I look at, we've been married 22 years, so we've known each other half of our lives, more than half of our lives at this point. But when I look at the way that she's always engaged with people, it's this incredible expression of love through hosting, through creating experiences that allow people to feel loved like they've never felt before. And I'm like, whoa, that's incredible. If we don't know that as her zone of favor, then all we're saying is, oh, she should be in the hospitality business. But it's bigger than that. It's more than that, right? That's our natural way of
There's that
looking at
little
these skills,
special.
but it's bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. And I can see that. And there's even scriptures that talk about, and I'm sure you're aware, that talk about the gift of hospitality, the gift of hosting. And there's another scripture that says we should be eager to practice hospitality. And
Yeah.
so, literally listed in some of the gifts that God gives us is one about being hospitable. And for you, there is the gift of prophecy, but then there's also the gift of encouragement. And I think that you're in that zone for sure, especially on that gift of encouragement side of things. Like you said, there's a gift, a little something special
Yeah.
there that you can get in behind walls and strongholds that the enemy's built. Maybe you talk to people that have never let their guard down, but they'll let it down for Alex. I mean,
Yeah.
he probably hears this, man, I've never told this to anyone before, but
All the time.
yeah,
And why? Why is that? It's because that's the secret sauce that God sprinkled in me. Like I don't have. Why would anyone open up to me? Like who am I in the grand scheme of things, right? I'm just another person like everybody else. But yet when we're operating from this place, it's as if seas are parting in front of us in these areas that we operate in, which is incredible. And that's where you start seeing evidence in all your life. Oh wait, this happened even when I was a kid. Like
yeah.
people would confide in me. Like I'm 7 years old. Why are they telling me the things they're telling me? But there was something in me already that they knew that they would be heard and seen through me, and that I would speak a word of life into them at 7, and then at 15, and then at 23, and now I'm 43. And I've been tweaking and expanding my understanding of it over time, because a lot of times there was a line drawn throughout our entire life where this zone of favor has been very apparent all of our lives, but we just don't have the proper understanding of it.
So what kicked off this conversation, one of the things is we were just talking about how, and this is again, Alex and I have talked about this with our own stuff, our own lives, our own business ventures, as well as other people in our inner circles and that we're friends with too. And it's this concept of like, okay, each one of us has this zone of favor. We've got this almost superpower special ability. And I think if you might say, I don't know what mine is, but I think you actually do. I think if you just thought about it for a minute, you went back and there's several scriptures you can look up that lines them out and kind of be like, okay, mine's in this category. Oh yeah, I can see that. I I believe that God put that, well, he put it in you for a reason. But the other kind of awesome part about it is when you are active in it, it lights you up. That's where fulfillment is found.
Yes.
I believe fulfillment is the feeling we're all actually chasing. Is how do I live fulfilled, not have glimpses here and there, but
Yeah.
how do I live it?
Yes.
Because when I'm living it, cool things happen. I think that's part of God's genius design is like when you live in that zone of favor, you help others, but it also helps you by giving you that feeling of fulfillment, which is the greatest high that there is.
Yeah.
So if I can live a life where I'm living fulfilled, and every Christian does that, we would all be operating in our gifts. We would all be helping other people, and we'd all be charging ourselves up too, so that we can continue the work. It's kind of this
Yes.
beautiful thing that should be happening, but unfortunately rarely is.
Yeah.
And so, what kicked off this conversation was just how in our own lives, man, we've seen glimpses. It's like sometimes when I do this, oh, I just, oh man, it lights me up. Then I got to go like 7 days before I get that chance again, or it's random, or man, we might come to each other and just be like, bro, I'm just feeling like it's kind of in a funk or something. And then we
Yeah.
dig into it and it's like, well, you haven't operated in your gift in a couple weeks, or
Yeah.
you just did it barely. It's one of the reasons, if
And
not
you're
the
doing
main,
stuff. You're doing it's not like you're just like sitting around. You're doing
yeah,
things, but it's
yes,
not the thing.
yes.
So it can never occupy the space of living in the thing, the zone.
And Alex knows I've been on this kick for, I'd say, at least 6 months to a year, where I'm just like fired up on helping people and like kicking them in the butt to do the thing
Yeah.
versus all the other stuff we've been occupying our time with. So,
Yes.
so back to my point about not activating your gift, it's the reason I do. I've talked about this on the channel before. I think I make a video every morning, Monday through Thursday, and then often throughout the day, I'll make some more videos because I it stirs my gift up. So like just in the way that I build my day, like you want to eat right, you want to do a little bit of exercise, you want to build these things, you want to spend time in the word, you want to spend time with your wife, you want to spend time with your kids. You want to do these little things every day to move the needle in your life. Well, for me, I realized making content on this topic, aka preaching and teaching, is my zone of favor, my gift.
Hmm.
I need to activate this. I don't need to wait for a church to say, hey, Travis, would you like a full time ministry position and preach from the stage every Sunday? I actually don't want that. But that's what we think it has to be. Instead, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing, I write books. I've got curriculum all over the place. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I'm choosing to activate my gifts. And what happens is it charges me up. I feel
Yeah.
fulfilled. And then my work, the stuff I just created, my fruit goes out and helps other people
Yes.
and charges them up. And it's just like I said, it's this beautiful cycle thing. But I had to come to a spot where like, okay, I want to live fulfilled. Um, I it could look like this, or it could look like that, but I don't really know. And then, but I also got to pay bills and I got to make money, and I
Yeah.
want to make a lot of money, but I don't know if I can while I preach and teach. Like preachers, like what? Like, and I think that cloud and question
Yeah.
mark where most people live.
Yeah. And here are the thoughts that people have. And I have them written here because I was actually talking about it. I posted about this earlier. Here's a few to come to kind of think about this. Why haven't you fully stepped into your zone of favor? So a couple of thoughts come up. We've already discussed a couple. How can I make money with that? Will that make money? Or that's not what others expect of me.
Mm.
They already expect me to be this. Hey, I've had a marketing agency. Who am I to now start talking about this other thing, right? They know you for something, and God is saying that was cool. We're going to use that, but I got something greater for you.
I'm the business guy.
Yeah,
Why would I start talking
I've
about
said
faith
that.
and
I've
Bible
told
stuff?
you that. I'm like, oh, I'm the marketing guy. I'm the consultant. Like, I don't know how to make the transition. Like, we get in our heads, but like, if it's a God thing, it's bigger than what you can occupy in your head, right? So these are thoughts that we have nonetheless that stop us. That sounds too risky. There's another one like, oh, that's risky. Should I go that route? Risky in different ways. It could be feel financially risky. It could be risky in terms of your audience. Like suddenly you're going to be talking about some other things, but they're used to you talking about some other stuff. It could be risky for your family. Like, oh, who's this new version of you? Like, that's not who we know, right? So it could be risky, or you have your own plans. Wait, but my plans say I should be doing this. And God's like, that's cool, but like that pales in comparison to what I have. That's cool and all, but guess what? The plans that are really in your heart, like, though I know those, I put them in there and I want to meet you with them. You've had to manufacture other plans because you've not been forward on the plans that actually matter.
Yeah.
So he's like, I will direct your, I'll order your steps, right? And then this is going to cost me something. No, it's going to cost me business. It's going to cost me clients. It's going to cost me time. It's going to cost me all these different things. But God already made a way for all those doubts and all those thoughts.
Yeah.
Didn't catch him by surprise that you're having these thoughts. Like he knows that about you. He knows literally everything about you, and he already made a way for them. It's just, are you open to hearing what that way is, or are you just caught in your own way? Which is, you got to really be honest with yourself,
Mhm.
because God has already made a way and will continue making a way for each one of these doubts, each one of these thoughts, each one of these limitations that we come in. Because look, listen to the limitations; they all come from a place of lack, as if your plans, your way, the things you've already done can ever be higher than his ways.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like if I was to do my plan my way, I'd make way more money, God.
Really?
Wait, hold on. Like, but the source of money, the supplier, the creator of finances, the one who promised you the ability and power to get wealth, who already gave you that power, I got a good feeling he knows how to make a lot of money too, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And
A
I
lot
think
more than you.
it's most of the time. I was just talking about this at lunch with a guy. It's one or two layers deep. Like you have to dig one or two layers deep to find out why you're really doing what you're doing or saying what you're saying or
Yeah.
not doing what you know you should be doing. So, for instance, uh, you might say things like, "Man, I know I should write books. Like I've got books in me. I love writing. I love reading. I see the books I need to write in the marketplace are really missing this. I'd like to put out a book or two on that topic, but I never went to writing school. Like, I don't have a college degree in it. I got my buddy who actually majored in writing. Now he's an author. He writes for a magazine. I don't
Mhm.
have any of that. So who would they? I don't have any credentials. No one would listen to me.
Yeah.
I'm whatever. It's usually something like that. I would
Yes.
need to go back to seminary and get my theology's master's before I
Yes.
started my YouTube channel on going through the Bible so that people would listen to me. Obviously, I'm just a dude from Oklahoma. Like, I don't have a college degree, didn't go to
Right.
Bible school. Why would you follow my Bible channel?
Yeah.
Obviously, I would need those credentials. Or, man, I love, you may have had a physical transformation. I've had this exact conversation with at least 3 people who've had a physical transformation, got their diet right, got their health right, got their exercise right. You look at them and you are shocked at the transformation, the energy. They've become a new person. They love life again. And now they want to go on their heart. In their heart is they want to go and train other people how to have the result they have. So I'm like,
Yes.
okay, let's do it. They're like, how do I get started? I'm like, man, you just grab somebody and say, can I coach you?
Can I help
Well,
you?
yeah, totally. But first, I got to go back and I got to get my certifications. So I can be my personal trainer certification. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, that's how people, would like trust. They wouldn't hire you if you didn't have these
Yeah.
certifications. And I told him, I was like, I lifted my shirt up and I was like, do you see my dad bod? Can you could you get this to a 6 pack in the next 6 months? And he was like, absolutely. I was like, I will hire you right now. I will never ask if you have a certification. I'm like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? A buddy of mine did the traditional college route and got his college degree and then used it in his industry. And I remember a few years later, he was like, I just realized they never asked to see my diploma. He was like, they don't actually know. They said I had to have it to get this job, but they don't even know.
If I did it, yeah.
And the stuff I learned didn't help me get the job. Like I learned everything on the job. It's just like, but he was for real. He was kind of like, did I just waste the last 5 years and 125 grand?
That's the
But
thing, is we want to qualify. There's a saying that, in the church space, God doesn't doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called, right? Like
Mhm.
that's such a common used term. But if you look at history, like there was a bunch of unqualified people that changed the world. Like in fact, I think like he gets joy from using unqualified people. Like, man, what does that tell you about this God of yours, that he will take the forgotten, he'll take the overlooked, he'll take all of that and look what he does with those. Wow, that's a testimonial.
Yeah.
Think about, let's bring it to the our the natural world. You take somebody that's already has a 2 pack to a 6 pack, cool. Wow, that was great. You go from somebody that was overweight by 50 pounds to the same six pack. What testimonial is going to yell out at you?
Hmm.
It's that massive transformation. That's it, what God does. He takes the least of these and look what he does with them. So if he's the one that qualifies you, what school out there, what program out there can qualify you more than the God of the universe, the one that speaks planets into existence, the God who puts their stars in their place? Who other who else's qualification is better, stronger, more powerful, more valuable than the one that you already have? That's and we don't think about it that way, so we go and look for man-made qualifications and approvals when God's like, I make the way.
And I think it's that thing. Like that's what I was starting to say is like I think it's that that's what somebody would say as to why they're not operating in their zone is I don't have the qualifications or certifications yet. Once I get them, then I will. But a couple things is funny is one, everyone I've talked to who says they need some kind of qualification or certification, it's a common conversation. They're
Yep.
never actually pursuing that thing anyway. I'm like, oh, okay, so you went back to school and you're getting your certification now? Well, no, because I got a family and
When
a
this
baby.
happens, then I'll get the thing to make that thing happen.
Yes.
That's
So it's
insane.
like, what are you really afraid of? That's what I mean by going a couple layers deep because the excuse of needing to go back to school or whatever it is typically just an excuse. And then
Hmm.
you keep the conversation going, you keep asking questions and digging, and you come to find out why they really haven't started. And sometimes it can be as deep as I don't feel qualified, like from a faith standpoint. Like I haven't performed good enough. I need to get some stuff together. Then
Yeah,
I get right. People are like, I need to get some stuff together before I can go back to
yeah,
church. Like, wait, that's where you get your stuff together at.
yeah, exactly.
That makes no sense.
I gotta get healthy before I go to the hospital.
Yeah.
It works that way. Yeah.
But deep down, it might literally be like sometimes I said it's like a deep emotional thing as to why you haven't started.
Yeah.
But often it really is just that, man, the truth is, I need 10 grand a month to pay my bills and run my lifestyle. If I went into that full time, I don't see how I can make 10 grand a month. I, I've tried a little bit and I've made $1,000 a month, but that's not even close. So maybe one day after I'm maybe debt free and have these investments and paid some stuff off, and then once I get my business cash flowing really well, I'll put somebody over it. Then I'll work on preaching, teaching, writing the book, starting the thing, doing whatever. And it's like, I get what you're saying, but it doesn't work that way.
And that's the thing is you'll tell yourself that for years and years and then create a life out of one days until you're out of one days.
That's what I see.
And I've seen the same thing. I've seen the same thing as like, great, you got all the things. Hey, remember you said you just wanted your kids to get older? Now they're out of the house, moved out, done with college, married. What happened? You missed your one day then? If you said that it's at point B that I'm going to move, when point B happens, even then you're not moving. Like, then what did we waste all that time for?
Yeah.
You know, and back to the conversation about the certifications and stuff. What I find, and Trav, I don't know if you found this as well. Like people would say, when I have the qualification, first of all, a lot of them don't even move forward on the stuff that they say they need first. But then once they do, it's still not enough.
There's still something else.
Now I got no one more. No, no, no. I got to do this other thing now. I got to like all these hurdles, and God's like, no. I said go. Like literally, I breathed this into you already, knowing that you didn't have the stuff, and yet I still breathed it in you. Go and make disciples. Not go get educated and then get your master's and get your doctorate, and then once you're done with that, then practice for 14 years, and then by the time you're 63 years old, now speak to that first person because now you're right. Go and make disciples wherever you find yourself at today, because that doesn't mean that you stop learning. It doesn't mean you stop growing. Do the education. Trav and I, we still constantly are educating ourselves. We're reading books, we're in courses, we're learning. That doesn't mean that you don't do that. I don't want the message to be devalue education and
Right.
learning. That's not the message here. But if that's hindering you from moving forward, then you got your priorities wrong.
Right.
Because the learning is going to empower you to do more and go wider, but it doesn't stop you from starting.
You also learn the most by grabbing the cat by the tail.
Executing, being
Yes.
in the game.
Getting in there, taking on your first client, do it for free.
Yeah. There's a book. I love the title. And it's I don't know if I see it here, but it says you can't learn to ride bike from a book.
Mm.
And it's a sales book. It's pretty cool. But that's the truth. Is like books will not teach you. You literally have. How's a book going to teach you to balance yourself? Like no way. Like it could. Here's what it will take, but you get on there, and then all that lessons out the window when you feel like you're tipping over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got to get on it, and then guess what? You get on again, and then I get on again, and then I get on again, and next thing you know, you're cruising. And it's just like it feels so natural, but you have to get in the game to get to the place where it's a natural thing you do.
So for the person who's, what advice would you give them? The person who's watching this and they're like, Alex, you described me. I'm in my day job. I'm climbing the corporate ladder, but I'm not fulfilled. Like
Yeah.
it's fine. It's okay. But I really wish I was doing da da da. Man, if it was a perfect world and money didn't matter or something like that, or I had all the money or I could make money at it, what would I want to be doing? And I think a lot of people say, I don't know. But again, I think they do know. How would you help this person? Like, what's the first step to basically like, is it a transition? What would you even call it? Making the shift.
It it really starts with your mind, what you believe. What do you believe about God? Do you believe that He has good things for you, or do you think He's going to harm you? The Bible says, "I ha- I have plans for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope."
In the future.
Doesn't There's no period there.
Mm.
Plans to give you hope, no period. It keeps going. And it says plans to give you a future. So like it's all taken care of. It's all accounted for now, right? If it's not accounted for later, he would have said plans for you today. This is
Mhm.
plans to give you hope and a future. So in other words, I've already seen the whole thing. He's the only one that knows the end from the very beginning. So he knows you have needs. He knows your concerns. He knows your fears. And he says, yes, you're still qualified anyway. So it's shifting from having faith that God does this to personalizing and saying, I trust that He will do this for me.
Mhm.
I trust that He knows my needs so much that He'll make a way. I remember, just as an example, and if you take a moment after you listen to this, this recording, take a moment and realize how many times God has proven Himself over and over and over and over and over to be your provider, to make a way where there seemed to be no way. You have history with God. Like it's not like you don't know for a fact that He'll do something. Like you have history. There's a track record,
Yeah.
right? He's not even asking you to have blind faith because He's like, look at all the evidence. In the Bible, it talks about the Israelites, and God told them when they were crossing the Red Sea to put 12 stones in the center so that generations to come will never forget where He brought them through. There's 12 stones, 12 monuments, 12 memories, 12 stories, 12 experiences to remember where they came from. What are your 12 stones? Remember that time He helped you through college? Remember that time that He helped heal you through that broken relationship? Remember that time that He created an opportunity for you? Remember that time when you needed money and suddenly, like, the thing you needed money for worked itself out with or without the money? Like, there's a track record here. So when you realize that that's the God that you serve, it's not a matter of having faith that He'll do that. My guess is you already have the faith, but it's the belief and the trust that He will for you. When we shift there, then the things that we've made risky suddenly get dismantled. Because is it really risky to be in the center of God's perfect will for your life? There's nowhere that you can go that's less risky than that.
Yeah.
That's the less risky place ever. Think of, if you're a parent, what's the safest place for your kid to be? Is it out at the club? Is it in another? Is it somewhere trapped in the ocean on a rowboat? No, it's probably in your home. It's probably where there's a roof over their head. It's probably where they're going to get fed. Probably where they're going to get loved and nurtured. It's probably in the center of your home, your presence, safest place your kid could be. And we are sinners, and we are imperfect, and we are limited. Imagine the goodness of God, the perfect love of God. If we know how to give good gifts and we're sinners, how much more your Heavenly Father knows how to give good gifts. It's the fact that we know it, but we don't believe it. It's the fact that we understand it intellectually, but we haven't given ourselves space to really internalize it and experience it. Because if you look at it, God has already shown you that that's the kind of God He is. So would you use that then to believe that He has something more for you and that He'll take care of all those details? Doesn't mean that you just lay back and watch Netflix all day. That's not what that means.
Yeah.
It's almost out of reverence. I want to do out of the abundance of what's been done. I want to be out of the abundance of who God has been. So,
My buddy at lunch I just left, he actually brought up an interesting thought. I'd never put it this way before, but he said you can't separate believing and doing. It's the same thing. And I
yeah,
thought that was something to think on for a minute. Is like you said, you might know it, but you don't believe it. If you believed it, you'd be doing it. If you truly believed that God is your source and supply, here's what's cool about God's promises is, and I'm not saying this to tell you to quit your job today, but it does say that He will meet your needs. He will fill to the full your every need according to His riches and glory in Christ Jesus. It doesn't say if you keep your corporate day job, He will meet your needs.
yes,
It doesn't. And I know I've preached that and taught that before, and then some people go extreme with it and go like, "You told me to quit my job." No, but if that's what's hindering you, and you're saying, "I don't know how to pay my bills any other way," we need to get back in the Word and examine what God says about paying your bills, because we need to detach from that. I would just read Matthew 6. It tells you exactly what to do. Matthew 6:24 through Matthew 6:33. I'm not even going to read it. I'm going to tell you to go look it up. It tells you exactly what to do. Combine that with Malachi 3:10 through 12 on tithing. Combine that with Philippians 4:19 on God meeting your financial need. Combine that with 2 Corinthians 9:6 through 12. Talks all about reaping a financial harvest when you sow and God making grace, favor, and abundance come towards you.
yeah,
I mean, these are all these promises that, like, if you don't have them, do you see I could spout those off without looking them up? It's because I put them in my heart 20 years ago. I read them, believed them, do them.
yes,
And now I've got
yeah,
them. They are who I am now.
yeah,
So part of that transformation makes it easier because my belief is so high to go and do these things that feel risky.
yeah,
Belief in God's promise is I'm so charged with it. I
yeah.
can do it.
And the reality is, Trav, you and I, maybe it's at a different level than who the people listening to this right now. We still take risky moves right now. We're doing things that may not make a whole lot of sense. You know, we were just talking about some investments we did and our mistakes with investments. Those mistakes were tens of thousands of dollars in mistakes. One of them I can think of, and we're talking about this one specifically, was a $25,000 mistake that I just made a couple months ago. Okay, lesson learned. Let's go. That's not going to stop me from God's faithfulness
Totally.
because He replaced that loss in one conversation.
Yeah.
When you're found in His perfect will. So, is there really a risky place to be when you're in the center of God's will? No, man. And I mean, look at what Psalm 90:17 says. Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands upon us. And yes, establish the work of our hands.
Hmm.
He establishes, not us.
Wow.
He
That's
establishes it.
Psalm 90.
It's Psalm 90:17.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one to get in you.
Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands upon us. Yes, establish the work of our hands.
I like how it says it twice.
I know, like, get it in you. Like, don't just. I say something. We were just talking about this, but the way that I said it actually came in a conversation with an individual that I was telling that kind of prompted this conversation here. But he reminded me of something I told him. I told him years ago, and this is something I literally wrote on my wall to remind me, and that was, you don't know anything you haven't done or become. Oh, I know that. Oh, I already know that. Have you done it? Have you become it? No, you really don't know.
Don't know it. Yeah, that's good.
Don't know it. Have you done it? Oh, I know how to work out. Have you done it? No, then you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have a concept of it, but you don't know. It's like, I know of this God versus I know God. Like, that's a world of difference.
Right.
I
Yeah.
hear this God, this Jesus. I walk with Jesus every day. Totally different experience. Totally different. All right. And so that's why you got to get it in you. It's not enough. The word says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Not in his mind. It's not enough to intellectually know this. In his heart, it's got to be a part of your life. It's got to be in your soul. It's got to be in your spirit. It's got to be an experience that you have. Otherwise, it's just intellect that we have. I know of the love of God, but 4 years ago, I experienced the fullness of the love of God. But I'd known it for over 20 years, probably longer than that. But I experienced it and received the fullness of it, changed the word for me, changed who God was, because I finally received it in my heart. As a man thinks in his heart, we don't think with our heart, right? We think with our head. Yeah, but that's not enough.
Yeah.
It's got to penetrate. And when it does, you're a transformed person.
I've heard it put, it's when you know that you know that you know. That's when it's in your heart. That's when it's real. Because we're talking about, head knowledge versus knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know the words, but you don't know it. You don't know that you know that God meets my needs no matter what. That God loves me no matter what.
Yes.
I don't have to qualify myself with earthly qualifications to do what God called me to do.
And I don't have to earn it. Like, I don't work for love. Like, Trav, he loves me. Like, and I love him. He doesn't have to do anything for that.
Unconditionally. Yeah.
What, like, it's not dependent on anything. Like, it's just, I love you, dude. Like, you know that, and that's it. Whether you do or don't do, whether you, doesn't matter. All that stuff is out of there. It's just, I choose to love you, period. And that's it. That's the only condition. Yeah. I honor the condition of this relationship. That's how God is. Where do we learn that from? His example to us. It's not this genius idea that humans get. It's literally God breathed. That's his design. I love without condition. If we get over that, man, imagine how this word, the Bible, opens up to us, because we understand the character of God.
That's good. Well, Alex, I think you brought the heat today.
Oh, man. Thank you for the invite. You said earlier I had to twist his arm. Not really, man. We're just like, let's record. We're going to have these conversations anyway. There's not a lot of twisting the arm.
I twist his arm, meaning he's a busy guy, and I gotta be like, hey, when can we do it? And he's gotta be like, Thursday at 2:30. Like, all right. That's what I mean. You're right. I don't have to twist his arm, but I gotta schedule it in there. Go work at it.
Oh man, I just love these conversations, man. And these are real conversations that you and I have, that we're just like allowing you to listen in on, because like we're working this stuff out. It's not that we've arrived and let's bring everybody, like we're still in this journey together.
And that's what,
we're still sharpening each other and challenging each other and
I'm taking notes on what Alex is saying. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I do in real life. with the camera off as I take notes on stuff Alex says. So I'm just trying to show you that the conversations we have, and he's right. Like, talking about even our own stuff. We're talking about, hey, here's this investment I'm looking at, and here's kind of how I'm thinking through it. And, talking through like our callings and what we're gifted at doing. And I'm kicking Alex in the butt on stuff. He's kicked me on the butt in the butt
Yes.
for years just to get me to launch the Increase Life and the Increase University and the programs. And so we kick each other in the butt. We sharpen each other, like
All
you
the
said.
time.
And that's a part of an amazing godly kingdom friendship,
Yeah.
doing that and being able to take it without getting offended or getting, all weak sauce on you, and just being like, all right, he's right. I haven't done anything on my calling in a while. Hey, Trav, you keep doing a lot of things that make money, but are you doing the things God called you to do?
Yeah.
Huh, crap. Right? It's like that type of thing. It's
Yeah.
important. You need friends
And
like
it's
that.
not from judgment. And I
No.
had this thought too, is like in my mind, this is 'cause my own stuff, my own insecurities. I'm like, accountability feels like judgment. Then you get healed from being judged, knowing that the God of the universe already loves you. And like you don't have to perform for him. So why do you have to perform for anybody? Oh, then accountability is awesome. But if
Yeah.
you have some insecurities or bad experiences that haven't fully healed yet, accountability looks like judgment.
Mm.
Accountability looks like guilt. Accountability equals pain, so that you don't want pain, so you avoid accountability. When
And
you
what
heal
happens
from that,
but when you avoid accountability, you don't make the progress you could at the rate you possibly could, or maybe never.
yeah,
And you end up drifting into just any opportunity that comes your way, what feels easy, what feels comfy. And then next thing you know, you're floating out in space when you should be right over here in the rails of
exactly.
accountability, but it was painful.
Yes,
It's all the enemy. He's always trying to do stuff like that to us.
yeah,
It's out there. All right.
and it's just such a great thing. So take this conversation and ask yourself, who is in my corner where I can have conversations like this?
Yeah.
Who am I accountable to? Who is accountable to me? Not from a guilt place, not from a judgment place, but a place where this person believes in me, that they're not gonna let me off the hook when I'm not operating from that place that they know I can operate from and that I'm called to operate from. And I think that's what I love about Trav, is that we hold each other accountable there. Is this what God has for you? And he'll ask me the same thing. And often, like I asked him literally 2 weeks ago, I'm like, what do you think of this offer? What do you think of this? He's like, that's cool and all, but we should be talking about this. And that lit me up. And so that was a big part of this conversation here, because this stuff was already in me. I loved this stuff and I was minimizing it because in my mind I had to look a certain way. And I was personally going through some of the things that I shared here. Like, this is not what's expected of me. This is a little different than I thought it would look like. Yeah, exactly. It's God's, it's not you. Of course, it's going to be bigger than you thought. Of course, it's going to be different. He's not limited by you, but you are. So it was a conversation that I needed to have. So, that's why you need somebody that's in your corner to help you navigate some of this stuff, because we get in our own way. And God's like, I've equipped you with people around you so that you don't have to stay there.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, man.
I think it's gonna help some people today.
I agree.
All right. I want everyone to go follow Alex on Facebook if you're not already. He's awesome. Just click on the Facebook thing that looks like his face. Alex Navas, Instagram. Just go follow him on the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep kicking him in the butt until he launches his YouTube channel and his podcast and has me on his show.
Yeah, absolutely.
That he's an awesome guy to be around. He'll inspire you, encourage you, help you see things the way God sees things, so that you can get on track to that fulfilled life.
Yes,
That was
absolutely.
a good outro. All right, let's drop the mic there.
Cool.
See you guys.
All right. See you guys.